Hey, what is up, my YouTubian subscribers? Security here to do my review on RWBY Volume 5, Chapter 4, Lighting the Fire. Now, this chapter was like, first off, if you don't know, I spoiled the chapter through my reviews, so if you haven't watched it yet, you can leave until next Saturday when the chapter drops officially on Rooster Teeth's YouTube channel. That being said, let's go on. Chapter 5, Lighting the Fire. Chapter 4, Lighting the Fire. Now, this chapter is like 99% Yang with a little bit of RWBY training. But that little bit of RWBY training was actually quite important for Jean. So let's start with that. Basically, the chapter, that's RWBY's part of the chapter is her learning to fist fight. Now, she's not perfect. She's still nowhere near Yang's level. She's still nowhere near Mercury's level, or anyone who primarily uses their hand-to-hand skills. Even Crow, someone who primarily uses a giant-ass sword, scythe, shotgun. She's still nowhere near the level of those characters, which is to be expected. Ozpin or Oscar, I should say, is picking up on Ozpin's abilities rather quickly, like faster than Jean, faster than anyone was expecting. Still nowhere near RWBY's level. Like, she's able to send him tumbling with a punch, and he doesn't use his aura, which to me I assumed. Not my main issue is how Pierre describes aura as it's an automatic thing until, like, I have an issue with consistency with how they treat aura and semblances. Like, you have semblances like Crow's, which is always active no matter what, and he doesn't choose who he affects, which isn't an issue. It's just weird because it's one of the few and then he can turn into a bird. I don't know, like he turns into a crow. So I don't know about how, like it's just weird. And then you have things like Jean having a black eye, Yang having her arm cut off, and I know Carrie and the writers have said that basically what happened was Adam shot through the aura, was able to cut through the aura, which to me is like, yeah, I understand the blood was glowing gold, so she clearly still had aura left to defend, and I honestly think that's what stopped her from bleeding out on the battlefield, is because her aura was still there. I think if she had not had aura left, Adam would have killed her in that moment. But like I said, consistency. Weiss has a scar while she still had aura left. It's just how consistency, how it's told. Like I said, right from the very beginning when we were first introduced to the concept of aura, Pierre said, "Why didn't you activate your aura?" Jean's like, "What?" She forcibly activates his aura for him, and then says that now the energy that defends Jean will be Jean's own. And I get it, Jean. I'm gonna say that because Jean has such a massive aura, that he's more than subconsciously defending himself. It's always there because it's similar to Crow's semblance, which is always active. Jean's aura doesn't need to be, is outside of his body. Similar, if you've watched Naruto, when Rock Lee opens the gates, the chakra veil that covers him, I think similar to that, but an invisible shield. I think he's subconsciously or just naturally creating an invisible shield around him. We then get a little bit of backstory on semblances, how similar to the X-Men, and how X-Men unlock their abilities through stress. However, unlike the X-Men, where it's just stressful situations and then they activate their power, the semblances can be activated at any time, anywhere. RWBY's activated during a training session, and I don't believe it's from the yellow trailer, or not the yellow trailer, but the Yang Volume 5 trailer, when Yang punches RWBY and she goes flying in that pillar of rose petals. I don't believe that's when she unlocked her aura, because the red trailer is very clearly in, she's leaving for a beacon in a couple of days. The red trailer is very clearly in the winter. And we've seen we know that Summer's grave is somewhere near Patch because of Volume 3's opening, where RWBY's at Summer's grave telling her about her adventures thus far in the series. So we know that if it was winter in one, that means that the Yang trailer and the red trailer from volume 1 couldn't have been anywhere near one another, at least a season or two apart. Like literal, it's like at least fall, winter, or spring. Like at least, so it's not during that. I think that they were trying to imply that, but it wouldn't make sense canonically with the timelines, how the timelines work. And I would accept it if they did try to confirm that it was during that time. I don't believe it until it's confirmed, but I do think that it was during a training session with Yang, or Tai. Either way, let's go on. We then have a monologue about semblance. Nora had a funny moment where she's basically says Ruby's was during a training session. Ren's was during the fall of Kuroyuri, I believe it was the village name was. And basically, yeah, Nora was struck by lightning one day, and Jean hasn't unlocked his semblance yet. He then kind of is like, I don't know, I've been training, I've been meditating, I've been doing everything I can to find my semblance. Ozpin then takes over Oscar's body and explains to Jean that essentially he'll find it. That finding your semblance is just the start on the road, and that he'll find it eventually. He's bettering himself, which is a good thing. And to me, what's my theory currently, that John's semblance is a fucking shield. I think that John somehow, I think he's similar to Nora, similar to Adam, similar to Yang, in that he can absorb damage, but instead of absorbing it and then increasing his own physical strength, which I know Nora technically absorbs lightning and then increases her physical strength and speed. But like Adam and Yang, I think instead he outright reflects it back. We've seen, and I know some people say it's his aura protecting him, but very clearly Jean's. I think he was reflecting Cardin's punch back at him with all the energy of Cardin's punch. That's what I think was happening in that scene. That being said, if it is polarity, because people have said that that they've made a very, very clear distinction that Pyrrha and Jean are almost mirrors of one another, they're foils to one another. That he's essentially gonna get fucking polarity. Now I can understand that. I don't mind if it's polarity. It's fine by me. Next up, let's discuss Yang's portion of the chapter. Basically, Yang drives this guy. They stop in an opening in a clearing in the forest. He's like, "I'll just go up ahead, make sure they don't attack us." We then hear a gun click, and Yang basically pulls a Wonder Woman. She throws her arm up, protects herself with her metal arm, which is cool. By the way, I like that Yang's using her metal arm. I think that's very, very similar to Adam. I believe that I think she's learned from her fight with Adam, and I think she's taken what Tai Yang was telling her to heart. I think she's using her metal arm as a shield, essentially, to absorb the energy without taking damage beforehand. Physical damage. I mean to say, like, obviously anything that hits her aura is going to deplete her aura. But I don't think it's gonna. I think if she's taken damage with her metal arm, her metal arm is always gonna be physically. It's not a thing that can be tired out. Similar to Darth Vader. If you don't know that's what gave Darth Vader fights advantages in so many fights, is that he was just so much strong. We get a clear distinction. Also, we get a clear distinction in this chapter between the metal arm, and the flesh and blood arm. We see that when Yang is fighting the bandit tribe, she punches a guy and he goes flying about 10 feet. Okay, and he rolls to the ground. He's still conscious. We then later on in the chapter see her hit a guy with her metal arm, and he flies like a good 30 feet back. So we know that her metal arm is like at least 3 or 4 times stronger than her physical arm, and that's saying a lot, because Yang's arguably one of the physically most powerful characters we've seen in the series so far. That being said, let's move on. Basically, yeah, she hears the gun clock, she blocks a bullet, and then a group of bandits come out and encircle her. She's like, "Is this everyone?" He's like, "Yep," and then she's like, "In that direction is the bandit camp." The guy who's like, "Yep." And then she's like, okay, good. She then clocks her. She then clocks her Ember Silica on her flesh and blood arm, and then clocks the shotgun in whatever the internal Ember Silica of her metal arm. Basically, we learn that it's not the same. Like the Ember Silica creates a metal lip that she hits people with. This thing basically it's the shotgun appears out of the middle of her hand and stops about there on her fist. It's not she's gonna hit someone with her metal arm, which again makes sense because her metal arm it's a metal fucking arm. It's a metal arm. It's gonna give you an advantage. It's like taking a club to a fist fight. It's gonna give you an advantage. Okay. She then beats the shit out of these guys, and we see that her training has like she doesn't take hits as willingly anymore. No more is this where she'll take a bunch of hits during a fight just so that she can dish it back double. No more of that. Like we then after she beats these guys up, we then cut away and we go to RWBY and RWBY's team, Ranger. However, I told you what happened with Ranger, so I'm gonna go right back to Yang. Yang is then walking into the bandit camp. The people are like are getting ready to fight. We see the Spring Maiden, and then Raven appears out of her tent. Raven then says she's proud of Yang for finally finding her. That she knew Yang was looking for her for years. And we get more of Raven's almost Darwinistic view on life, where the strong survive and the weak die. And I'm thinking she was hoping that when Yang found her, she would stay with her, but Yang said no. Yang's like, I need you to tell. I know your semblance. Dad told me what your semblance was. And basically, her semblance allows her to, when she forms a bond with a person, she's able to create the portals to the person. Now I'm thinking she also has a bond to the Spring Maiden or one of her bandit tribe members, because she teleports off the train just as well as she teleports onto the train, and we've seen her teleport out of the bar, so I believe that's how she's able to cross so big of distance instantly. She basically can create those portals to teleport, and that pretty much ends any idea that she's working with Salem, that her powers are similar to that of the Grimm. It's basically no. She just has a semblance that lets her teleport, and I believe we've also seen her transform into a raven. So, yeah. But then Yang says no. I'm going after RWBY. She's my sister. I'll do anything to protect my sister. And Raven's like, oh, that sucks. Because if RWBY's with Crow, then she's already a dead woman. And if she's working with Osmond, she's already a dead woman. And Yang's like, what do you mean? And Raven's like, doesn't give an answer. She basically starts to walk away, and the bandit tribe gets ready to attack Yang. Now, this is the point where I was talking about Yang basically. She defends herself, and then with her metal arm, she hits a guy so hard that he goes flying 30 feet. He knocks down a tent, and that's when she sees Weiss. Weiss is like, Yang? And Yang's like, Weiss? And then Weiss is like, what are you doing here? And Yang's like, that's my mom. And Yang is like, and Weiss goes, what? Your mom kidnapped me? And Yang looks at Raven, you kidnapped her? And then Weiss goes, okay, no more subtlety. Her knight grows to about 30 feet tall. Or not, I don't know, about 15, 20 feet tall, in all honesty. I like hyperbole, but yeah, she grows to be about 30 feet tall. The knight then her and Yang go back to back, and they get ready to just kick some ass. Raven then, or the Spring Maiden, then sends a bolt of lightning down, and Raven's like, enough. We're ending this, because if our emotions get high, then we're gonna attract the creatures of Grimm here. And she looks at Yang, she looks at Weiss and says, come on, I'm gonna tell you everything. If you want to go after your sister, if you want to go after RWBY, you need to know about what Osmond's up to. And so then that's where the chapter ends. Actually, no, it ends with a hug. Basically, Yang starts to apologize to Weiss about her mom fucking kidnapping her. But before she can even say I'm sorry, Weiss hugs her, and home starts to play from the volume 4 ending. That boo no 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 an instrumental version of Home plays, and she's like, I've missed you so much. And then we see the mama bear Yang come out. She hugs the Weiss back and is like, I missed you too. And I'm like, yes. We see the best out of Yang in this chapter. We see the best out of Yang's personality, and I love it. It's been so long since we've seen that inner mama bear Yang come out. I love it. The last time we seen this come out is probably during the Funky fight when Weiss sacrifices herself so Yang can doesn't get knocked out by Flint. And I was like, oh, I love it. I love Yang. I love when we see the best out of Yang, and that's not always we don't always get the best out of Yang. But when Barbara Dunkelman is at her best voice acting, when the writers are at their best voice or writing, Yang is at her best ever. Yang is easily my favorite character when everything clicks for RWBY. That's not always true, but when it is true, oh, I love it. I love competition, but no, it's so good to see Yang. Now that's not to say she's perfect. Her hand still shakes when she fights. After her fight, her hand shakes and she has to calm herself down, which again is to be expected. I wouldn't want the PTSD to be just gone. And honestly, I don't know what to expect out of the next chapter. I think we'll cut back to Blake. We're about a third of the way through the volume right now, and so we'll probably cut back to Blake, and I think we'll see that Blake and her family are making some kind of work towards leaving Menagerie and going over to Haven. I think we'll see the small army of Faunus that they built up. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should get Team Ranger, at least not for a little bit longer. And the next time we see Team Ranger, I think it should be under a situation where Jean will unlock his semblance. That being said, again, I don't know. I think Jean might unlock his semblance in the season finale. That being said, my running theory is that Ospen betrayed Raven. I think that's something went down between their past. I don't think it had to do with Summer, because very clearly Raven was out of the picture before Summer entered the picture for Yang, so I don't think it had to do with Summer. Maybe Ospen was the one who sent her on the mission that got her killed, and I think maybe that's what Raven will use to kind of play Yang against Ospen. But again, it's implied that Crow had something to do with Raven's death. When he's delirious, he says something along the lines of "Ty, she ain't coming back." Now it was left ambiguous. Did he mean Raven or did he mean Summer during that time? My main theory is that his semblance got Summer killed, and maybe that's what Raven's gonna play against Yang to try to get her to stay, because I think she wants Yang to stay. I think she sees Yang's innate strength right now. That being said, I don't believe Yang will stay. Good chapter! Very, very, very good chapter. I love it. Like I said, I love it when Yang is Yang. I love it when she's Mama Bear. And RWBY training. This is all I needed. This is all I needed from Weiss to make all my complaints about Weiss go away. Head Weiss had one 5-second sequence where we see her training with her knight. I would have been like, okay, fine, she's training. But when I still have issues. Her knight suddenly growing to 30 feet tall or 20 feet tall is crazy out of ability. But I don't care, because Yang was so good in this chapter. I love it because I love Yang. Security signing off.